If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
And just like that, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle, and you can see in the notes, if you click the button, you know the vibes, you know what time it is. We are taking it back. We are going back just 10 years and revisiting the debut album from Kendrick Lamar, Section 80. And I got my man Matt B in the building. Matt, what up, man?
What it do? What it do? I can't wait for this one. It does not feel like it's been 10 years.
Man, I said the same thing, man. This album was released July 2nd, 2011. Again, the debut album from Kendrick Lamar. And this, there were a lot of hip hop heads who knew who Kendrick Lamar was at this time, but I'll be honest, there's quite a few people, probably most of you that are listening to this podcast, did not know K-Dot, did not know Kendrick, did not know Kendrick Lamar, whatever you called him at that particular time. So let's take it back, man. July 2nd, 2011. Do you remember what was your, I guess I probably should start there. What was your first introduction to Kendrick Lamar? Was it this album or was it the previous stuff like Overly Dedicated or some of his mixtapes?
It was the Look Out for Detox freestyle that he dropped in 2010 that had the Dre on the Big Boy show intro or whatever. And then Kendrick just comes in and just starts spazzing over that dark ass, like kind of minimalistic beat. And I was just like, oh, so this is who all my friends were telling me about. Okay, maybe I should keep my eyes open for what he has next. I didn't hear Overly Dedicated until later. I didn't go back. But yeah, that was kind of like my introduction was that. And I was just like, well, I mean, I like the freestyle, but Detox ain't never coming out.
Right.
it's just not,
and it never did.
It's just not, no, I was just like, Detox isn't coming out, but I appreciate the freestyle nonetheless.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah,
I wish it did. But.
I think for me, man, it was, I was much like you. I didn't hear Overly Dedicated, which was his mixtape. I remember hearing rumblings about, I remember hearing his name. Like, I remember hearing his name, but I'm gonna be honest. I never put like K-Dot and Kendrick Lamar initially as the same person, because this was a time where a lot of stuff was happening on the internet. And funny story was, at this particular time, I had a internet radio station, right? And my internet radio station was called it was called 12 Radio, right? And so a friend of mine suggested to me that I have these cats on my show who knew a little bit about hip hop. So I didn't know these guys from a can of paint, right? So started making, emails, sending back and forth, we got everything together, got the guys on. The guys who actually came on to my show that particular night, I'll never forget, it was a Wednesday night, our boys from Dead End Hip Hop. So this is my first introduction to them. So, and then what was interesting was we were talking. Because
if my bad, go ahead.
We were talking, and my radio show was a call-in show, right? So people could call in. So I remember one person called in and they asked about the differences between what they thought the differences were between Overly Dedicated and and Section 80. So Section 80 had just come out, maybe I'm guessing it had been out maybe about a month or so. And so the guys were answering the question about, the guys from Dead End Hip Hop were asking the question about, the differences between the albums and talking about Kendrick. And they kept talking about Kendrick. And I was like, and so I'm sitting on the air as a host, not really knowing who the hell they're talking about, right? So then somebody else called in and they asked about Kendrick. And then like by the third time somebody called in, and then I finally said, man, okay, who is this Kendrick Lamar? And it was like, oh man, you got to check him out. Blah, blah. Just like, you never heard of Kendrick. And I distinctly remember my boy Mike Seatown said, hey man, when you get off here, check him out and let me know what you think, like that. And so I did that, and I don't think I could find his album. And I emailed I sent a text to my boy D Lovehall, shout out to D, and I said, do you have Kendrick Lamar's album, Section 80? And he's like, yeah, I got it. He's like, I'll email it to you. And I said, well, is this dude nice? And my man D Lovehall said, yo, he sent me back the text, and I'll never forget it. He said, yo, he reminds me of a young Nas. And when he said that, and like me and D grew up together. So, and D is a big hip hop head just like I am. So when he said that, I was like, D, you must be, you tripping, you bugging. He's like, no, he said, I'm telling you. He said, listen to this and tell me what you think. And so he emailed it to me. And the next day I sat at work and listened to this album, and I was blown away. Those are my first memories. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say is when you talked about the guys from Dead End coming up, I was just like, Ken has been on Kendrick for a very long time. Like that is his guy. Yeah. You know, like I remember watching Dead End Hip Hop in the early days, and Ken was always bringing up Kendrick. You know, like always. Like I was just like, damn, this must be like his favorite rapper right now. Well, Rod would too.
You know what it is too? I think not just with our boys from Dead End Hip Hop, but I think with a lot of hip hop fans, particularly with Kendrick Lamar, because he was someone who was kind of like underground, if you will, and he was somewhat of a cult hero.
He was underground, but he was bubbling.
Right. And so, you know, I think when you have a situation like that, fans want to always champion that type of MC, but also don't necessarily want to share him with the world. So, you know, you don't want to see him, you know, kind of bubble in the underground and then go mainstream and then go pop, and then all of a sudden they're not, you know, true to their roots. But that was my first introduction to him, man. And I never forget, you know, like I said, D Lovehall telling me like, yo, he reminds me of a young Nas. I was like, man, you got to be tripping. I was like, there's no Nas. There will never be another, because I'm a huge Nas fan. And when I listened to this album, man, I was literally blown. I wasn't Illmatic blown away, but I could not stop playing it to the point where
you could hear the Nas potential though.
Well, you know what it is? I could hear the influence. And I think, and I've said this before on this podcast, and it's worth repeating. He's from that tree, right? I mean, Kendrick at this point now has his own tree where he's influenced so many MCs, but he's from that tree. He's from the Nas tree of hip hop.
If we're talking influence, I can hear Razkaz and Kendrick as well.
Definitely. And, you know, so I think I know I kept the email and I played the song. I ended up burning the songs to a CD. And then I was like, you know, I need to go buy this CD. So I went and bought the CD probably about 2 weeks after that. So yeah, man, that's my, that was my introduction to Kendrick. Before we start breaking down the album, let me just, you know, give the people who are, you know, listening just a, you know, brief synopsis of this album. Again, it dropped July 2nd, 2011. So we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of this album. This album runtime is right at 60 minutes, 59 minutes, 44 seconds. So it's about an hour long. It does not, at least to me, it doesn't feel like it's an hour long. Some of the producers on this album, honestly, at this particular time were relatively unknowns. You had Dave Free, you had Soundwave, if you're familiar with Kendrick Lamar, Soundwave is almost, I guess you could say, has been with Kendrick since day one.
The only name production-wise that people knew was J. Cole for the song High Power.
Yep, J. Cole, Tay Beast, Terrace Martin, Tommy Black, Willie B, and Wildflyer, excuse me. But yeah, this album, critically acclaimed. Kendrick Lamar, obviously an MC from Compton. to me and a lot of other people didn't necessarily sound like what you would think an MC from LA would sound like at this particular time. But again, you heard the influences from Tupac, you heard the influences from Ice Cube, you heard the influences from Snoop, again, Nas, MCs like that. So this album was, like I said, when it hit the scene, it didn't blow off the charts. It wasn't a chart top. I think this album, it eventually went gold, if I'm not mistaken. But it was one of those albums that it was street gold. That's what we used to call it. It was gold in the streets.
It was kind of like one of those albums where it was just like, okay, it's not like popular,
Right,
but enough
right.
people know it that
Exactly.
it's creating a big buzz for Good Kid, Mad City.
Exactly. And there are a lot of similarities, and there are a lot of people know Good Kid, Mad City. But to be honest, there were a slew of fans, thousands of fans who heard Good Kid, Mad City, which was Kendrick Lamar's second studio album, and they heard that and they thought that was his first album. But no, officially Section.80 is his first album. So let's get into it, man. Do you recall your experience the first time you heard this album?
Yeah, and it's funny. You want to know why? You want to know why it's funny, Kyle?
Go ahead.
I didn't like it when I first heard it.
That's a very common theme, man, to be honest.
Well, you know what? Let me not say I didn't like it. I didn't understand why everybody was going goo goo gaga over it. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, okay, yeah, he's spitting, he's rapping well, but I'm bored. And I put it to the back burner for the next 5 or 6 months after the first time I heard it, because I didn't hear it until fall. Okay. Till the end of 2011. I kind of just was like listening to other stuff, you know. I was really on that Common album, The Dreamer, The Believer, at that time. Royce had put out Success Is Certain. You know, The Roots had put out Undone. So there was just a lot of other stuff that I was listening to at the time. And I was just like, all right, I'll get back to Kendrick later, but I got to listen to this right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to it once and I was just like, 6 out of 10. You know, like that. I feel
you gave it 6.
Yeah, I gave it the solid 3 out of 5. Wow. I think that's what a 6 out of 10 converts to, is a 3 out of 5.
Gotcha. Well, that means a 3 mic album in the Source. That's a dope album. It's still dope. It's okay.
Oh, I didn't think it was dope. I said good. Dope is higher than good to me.
No, what I'm saying is, like, if you say 3 out of 5, then I'm correlating everything to the Source magazine, so I'm like 3 out of 5. So a 3 mic album is a dope album.
Yeah, you know, in my mind, I didn't think it was dope. I thought it was like, okay, this is good, not great. I don't love it. I'll get back to it and let it grow on me later. So I went back to it in early 2012, right? Because like I said, like I'm finding my ear. I'm in senior year of high school at the time, so this album obviously had a big impact on me because it brings me back to when I was 17. You know, like this was like our Nas for me growing up. Like we all have that rapper that when we first hear him for the first time, we're like, who the fuck was that? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm pretty sure you've said before for you that was Rakim.
Right.
You know, for me, it was either Eminem or Andre. Mm-hmm. But I think later on it was Kendrick. Anyways, so I go back to it in like March or April of 2012. And I'm just like, okay, first 2 tracks are dope. I'm still not the biggest fan of that song "Hole Up Like That," but when it got to ADHD, I was like, whoa.
We'll get to it.
No. Yeah. I'm not getting into the tracks. I'm just that's all I'm saying about the tracks. I was just like, whoa, what is this? So then I kept on listening to it all the way through, and I was just like, okay, yeah, this was a lot better than I thought it was the first time I heard it. Mm-hmm. Like all it took was like 6 months passing, me listening to it a second time and just being like, yeah, all my friends who told me I was bugging, they were right. And like they were right, because all my friends were just like, Matt, what is wrong with you? This should be right up your alley. Right. And I'm just like, it's cool, you know, like I don't hate it, I don't love it, but when you're saying something like Section 80 is just cool to your friends, they're gonna be like, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, it's
Right.
like, okay, imagine if you're in high school, right, Kyle, and somebody comes up to you and says, "Yo, Kyle, I just listened to Illmatic for the first time. It's all right."
Right.
You'd
Yeah.
be like,
It's okay. It's decent. It's solid.
you would look at him, you would look at him and say, "You're banished from my existence until you say otherwise."
Right. Right. Right.
You know, so I listened to it again, and they were just like, for once, because I was known as like the hip hop dude in my school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that was just it. Like nobody knew more about the genre than I did, and I will stand by that, and so will my friends to this day. But they felt like they had one up on me when I came back to them and said I was wrong.
Because
They,
you were late to the party.
yeah, they were like, finally, he was late to. They were like, finally, he was late to the party. We got him. We finally beat him. And I'm just like, all right, you got me. I think I liked Big Crit's Forever for Turn of Forever. I think was that mixtape. I think I liked that more than this when I first heard it.
Yeah, it really just depends on where you were and what you were doing. Like I
Because
said,
I thought his voice was a little bit. You know what? You know what? I want to explain it a little bit. So I
Mhm.
thought his voice was a little bit monotone on Section 80 when I first heard it. I thought it was a little bit deep and like. I really like the lyricism. I love the flows. I love the content. But what made me be like, okay, 3 out of 5 was his voice. I did not like his voice at all when I first heard him. You know, I was just like, man, this dude kind of sounds like Kermit. Like he kind of sounds like like a he kind of sounds like a raspy Kermit the Frog to me.
Mhm.
You know, that's kind of like not even trying to. Okay, I am clowning a little bit, but like that's he just sounded like just an LA dude that rapped well, and that was it. Like I didn't really care for his voice that much. He sounded the same to me at first on every single song, which I feel like he improved on later on. But no, like after a while, I was just like, okay, this is more like a 4.5, not a 3. You know, so yeah, I love it now, obviously, but it took some time to grow on me. I think this is the only Kendrick album that I was just like, nah, at first. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it was one of the ones that had to grow on me. Good Kid, Mad City didn't have to grow on me. I got it first listen.
Yeah, and
To Pimp a
that's the thing that I think people have, I guess, had a common sentiment about. Like that's why I kind of chuckled when you said you didn't like it initially, because I talked to a few people that was like, I don't get it. Like, like they listened to it, so it was something that you had to digest really. And like I said,
Oh, it was it like the content, the lyricism. You know, I was just like, yes. What had to grow on me was his voice
okay.
and the production. The production had to grow on me too because I felt like it was kind of samey throughout when I first started.
Yeah, I got the production. I mean, maybe it's just because of how I was introduced to it. The production wasn't an issue for. In fact, there weren't any issues. I remember, like I said, I can't remember the exact date, but I had the Cats from Dead End Hip Hop on my show. I want to say it was maybe about a month and a half, maybe 2 months after. So we're talking. So this wasn't even at the time. Like, so this was probably fall of 2011. So for me, I was doing a lot because at that particular time, we were just about to expect our fourth and final child, our daughter, Skylar. We had Skylar in September of 2011. So, imagine, father, husband, preparing for our first girl. And, here we are, and we're doing all this stuff, and I'm running around working and stuff. And I'm coaching football. My little league, coach my son's little league football team, and then I had, and I got this internet radio show. Right. And so then I get introduced to this music, and I'm like, okay, this is different. And then when I found out he was from LA, I was like, he don't sound like a LA dude. Cause like I'm used to Ice Cube. I'm used to Snoop. I'm used to, Dre, Ren, those type of MCs. So
yeah,
Hyro, I'm used to those type of MCs. So
now see, wait, flag on the play. You thought Hyro sounded like West Coast?
No, not that they sounded, but what I'm saying is like because of the era in which I came up, like we just kind of classified people based on where they were from. It was like, oh, that's LA dude. Like even like I'll give you somebody like Too Short, even though Short was from the Bay. He was just West Coast. So like, depending on if you were having a conversation, with like me and my homies, West Coast was just West Coast. So and some of my boys, they didn't even differentiate between Oakland and LA. And obviously Oakland MCs and LA MCs sound totally different. But to me, he didn't have the same lyricism that I was used to, like the regular cats from LA. I mean, not even to the ones that were super lyrical or whatever, like Razcast or Cam or, right. Guys like that. So, again.
Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying was like, I was at the point where I was like, okay, well, this dude is different. And then the production for me, I was like, okay, this is really different. And like, it didn't sound like a quote unquote West Coast album. And I think that had me hooked one way. Not that I had any objection to West Coast music, because I loved all of that stuff, but it was just different. It was different, and it was a breath of fresh air. And the thing that I kept going back to was that my man D Love all said he reminds him of Nas. And so I sat with the intent on listening to what he had to say, because I'll be honest, the first couple of times that I listened to this album, I didn't even pay attention to the production. I just wanted to hear what he had to say. And again, just for those of you listening at home, I listened to this album just like Matt did, without the benefit of the internet. So yeah, we had a track listing, but I didn't know Soundwave from THC to whom. I don't know none of these people. It wasn't Pete Rock. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. It wasn't Primo. It wasn't.
Yo, we want Primo.
Yeah, so it wasn't nobody like that. So all of these dudes could have been the same dude. It wouldn't.
That's the funniest thing I've heard you say. Yeah, like this so far this year, Kyle. It ain't Pete Rock.
Yeah, I mean, so it was. So, but I was the beats were nice, but I didn't care about the beats. I was like, who is this? This dude is really rapping his ass off, and he had a story.
Yeah.
And so that's what really reeled me in, was that there was a story to this album. This album, again, Kendrick tells a story that centers around two main characters, Tammy and Keisha. And basically, Tammy and Keisha struggle to make sense of the world that is around them. And in each song, he paints a picture of the world of their world in great detail. And that's what this album is. This album is a book, but he paints such a picture that's so visual. The more that I listen to this album, I'm like, yo, this dude has been here before as an MC. I'm like, he's from that cloth of MCs where he is going to, one, leave no stones unturned, but he's a great storyteller.
Oh, yeah, very vivid.
And it was just like, once I started listening to it and I gravitated toward the music, man, I was hooked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop playing this album.
Now, I will say this also in 2011, that for me personally, the reason why it took me a while to digest this, 2011 for me as a hip hop fan was a stacked year.
Okay.
Because you had this, Fonte, my favorite Cunning Linguists album, On Urology, which is now one of my 5 favorite hip hop albums of all time. So like nothing from that year would top the Cunning Linguists album, and this album still isn't better than that one to me. You had Thur's LA Riot, you had Roy's Success is Certain. I think I said The Roots Undone. There was just a bunch of dope stuff that came out in 2011. Like, I think 2010 to 2020 was a much better decade hip hop wise than 2000 to 2010. Like, it was just such a stacked year. And it took a while for this one in particular to grow on me until I kind of took a break from some of those others. But yeah, I was just enamored by his storytelling because it was so vivid. Like, I've heard a lot of great storytellers in hip hop, but for one to make you close your eyes and envision every word that he's saying and kind of like paint your own picture of it. Because like sometimes when I hear music of somebody telling a really vivid story, I can kind of like create almost like a music video in my head of like what's going on. And Kendrick did that.
And that, to be honest, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's why I always get disappointed by music videos, because then I'm like, well, this isn't what I was thinking in my head. Immediately trash. But, like this dude kind of left a lot to the imagination. You know what I mean? And I really like it when rappers do that. Like, not every storytelling song needs a music video.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, let the listener kind of envision it, because a lot of times with an album like this, especially if you made multiple music videos for each song, I think the only one that had a video was High Power. If you made
no, there was a video for Rigor Mortis too.
There was?
Yeah, you never saw the video?
No, I never saw that one.
Bruh. When we finished recording, check the video out, man.
Yeah. Okay. So, but see, those two songs aren't really like storytelling tracks.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're kind of they're kind of just like lyrical exercise. Like, let me give you a break from this.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, let me give you a break from this super heady shit. You know what I mean? And like, let me just bar you to death real quick for like 3 minutes.
Right.
So it makes sense why he would make a music video for that. High Power has dope content, but it's more of like a bonus track, I think, in my opinion. It's kind of like what do they call it at the end of the book? An epilogue.
Mm-hmm. A perfect bookend to the album.
Yeah.
Well, since you started that, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. The album, again, it's 59 minutes 44 seconds. So let's just say it's an hour long. 16 tracks total. The album kicks off with "Fuck Your Ethnicity," produced by THC. I like this. I like how this song starts off, because it starts off with them around the campfire, and he introduces you to the two main characters of the book, if you will, book of this album, Keisha and Tammy. What did you think about this track?
It warmed me up. It's not like my favorite song on the album or anything like that. I never listened to it individually. I really only listen to it if I'm playing the album as a whole body of work, but I like it, you know. I think it's very smooth. It kind of like eases you into it. It doesn't just immediately smack you in the face, you know. So yeah, it's a dope opener.
Yeah, I love this one, man. I loved it. I love the way he comes in, and it was a lot of energy, and it was just, again, I remember just listening to it for the first, or at least the first couple of listens that I had. I was like, nobody really starts off a hip hop album like this. And so even the oddness of how it sounds, that made me want to listen even more. When, like I said, dealing with track one, when you talk about fuck your ethnicity. Then we moved to track 2. This is produced by Soundwave. It's called Hold Up. Now, you said you weren't really fond of Hold Up?
I like it now. I still don't love that song, though. I think it's kind of repetitive. I know. Hey, look, you know, like that hook, hold up. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, big shit popping, everybody watching, but not every. I don't know, man. Like, I like it a lot now. I still don't love it. It's like a song that I'd give like a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, but it's smooth. You know, it's jazzy. It's, you know, but I'm just like, come on, step the energy up a little bit.
Yeah, then we move to track 3, ADHD,
okay,
also produced by Soundwave.
Now here we fucking go.
Okay, so for you, this is where the album turns.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first two, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Whoa, wait a second. You know, like this, like that beat is fucking amazing. The way he's like rapping, like he probably uses like 10 different flows on it. Like, oh geez, it's very lush and kind of like dark.
Yeah.
But oh god, that's probably one of my top 3 favorite songs on the album.
Wow, that's what's up. I ain't mad at that. Yeah, man. I think for a lot of people, this, if there's a, and we talk about this from time to time on this podcast, particularly when we break down albums, you can tell, at least for some people, where the album turns. And the album can turn for the better or turn for the worse. Now, for me, this album already started off out the gates. So I think it kind of turned up even more So for you, it was, you're like, okay, well, the first 2 tracks, okay. And then it's like, wait a minute. Oh, shit, this is what we're doing? Like, so that's where you were.
Yeah.
And I was.
It made me love the first 2 tracks more because I'm like, okay, he couldn't have just started out with
Right.
ADHD. It's too intense.
Yeah, ADHD, man. This song is a smoker. And, Kendrick, again, he's not wasting any bars. He's not wasting any time. He just gets right to it. And that's one of the things I always appreciated him about as an MC. He's not going, for the most part, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I don't think until he gets to his 4th album that there's a filler track, to me. I'll touch on that on another podcast, but I don't think there's any filler tracks on this album or his subsequent next 2 albums, which would be Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, Damn has quite a few filler tracks on it, in my opinion.
So, yeah.
And that's one of those albums where at first I was in love with it, and now I'm just like, it's dope.
Right.
I like it a lot when it comes on, but I'm not actively like jumping to listen to it.
You know what it is? I think no, and I'm not going to get into a deep dive on Damn, but just to belabor your point, I think if Damn had stood on its own, we probably would be totally cool with Damn. But because he had these 3 incredible albums prior to it, then Damn,
I don't think he fell off or anything like that.
No, but it would have been hard to top these 3 albums. Right?
It was a natural half step down.
Exactly.
Instead of no tracks you don't like, maybe now there's 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Then if instead of constant 4.5s or higher, now we're at only a 4.
Right. And most people would. I mean, it got a Pulitzer Prize. I mean, most people would chop their arm off. So for what it's worth, most people would chop their arm off for that.
Can we just admit that he only got a Pulitzer Prize for that album because they didn't give him one for To Pimp a Butterfly?
I you know what, man? I have no idea how they come up with that stuff, so I couldn't even tell you. I know he should have won a Grammy and all of this other stuff, but that's the thing about Kendrick. I don't think he goes into the studio. Now, we know that there are some artists that go into the studios and they're clearly trying to win awards with their particular albums. But no, he just wants to put out dope shit. And he's not going to rush, and he's going to take his time and make his fans wait. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Track 4. Bruh.
Yeah. You know what's funny is a lot of people I've met say that this is their least favorite song on the album, No Makeup. And I'm just like, song. Yes.
I love
Bro, that I even love the hook. I thought the hook was perfect.
The hook makes the song. No Makeup. The name of the song is No Makeup, Her Vice featuring Colin Monroe. I had no idea who Colin Monroe. In fact, I probably still don't know who Colin Monroe is.
I don't either. So,
Produced by Soundwave. But this hint, Colin Monroe on the hook, the way that he sounds and the way that Soundwave blends in the music, it sounds kind of like an 80s pop theme.
And it works so good.
Exactly.
It works so fucking
exactly.
Good. When we got to that one, okay, so imagine my journey of listening to this album the second time when I fell in love with it, right? Mm-hmm. I get to this song and the line, you ain't got to get drunk to have fun. You ain't got to get, this was before I started. I think your audience knows that I'm sober now. Mm-hmm. And so this was before I started drinking, and I was just like, fuck yeah, you don't got to get drunk to have fun, which kind of makes me sound like a hypocrite now. But, the song itself was just, oh my God, the production was gorgeous. The way he's rapping, and he just sounds just so almost he almost sounds kind of demonic over it a little bit. He has this really dark way of rapping, but the beat is really happy and almost the juxtaposition. Mm-hmm. It's that song is incredible. That song is incredible. I don't understand why people don't like it. Maybe because it sounds a little bit poppier.
Yeah.
But I don't think that makes or breaks for a bad. I don't think it being poppier makes it bad. like I actually think that made it work better, because that's typically not something that I'd want to hear Kendrick rap over, or a rapper of his style to go over. Like, I kind of put Kendrick in the same bucket as like a Royce or an Elzhi. And if I heard Elzhi rap over a beat like No Makeup, I'd probably be like, okay, what the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm.
But Kendrick made it work, and you're right, that hook made it sound like this dark 80s like pop song, but it worked on a West Coast rap album. I'm like, man, Soundwave is stupid as fuck for that beat.
Trust me, as someone who listened to pop 80s music as a kid growing up in the 80s, this definitely could have been, before he starts rapping, it could have been on any top 10 station.
And now that you mention it, now it's making me think, because Section 80, he's talking about the 80s crack epidemic. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why he had that song sound like that.
Yeah, it was, man. And again,
you can't have a Reaganomics style album without having an 80s pop song on it. I'm sorry. That just doesn't make any sense.
It's like, it's a reminder that these producers are relative unknowns to all of us. Like I said, again, going back to my point earlier, that they're not household, sound. Nobody. I didn't know who the hell Soundwave was. Like I didn't. I literally, he could have walked into my college gym and had Soundwave on his jacket, and I still wouldn't have known who he was. And so,
you could have walked up to him and pointed to his shirt and asked who's Soundwave, and he'd just be like, wait, what?
He's like, well, I'm Kendrick Lamar. Who? Okay. All right. Okay. What's up? Like that. But yeah, that was crazy. And then track 5, Tammy's song, Her Evils. The song starts off with this crazy, like, video game sounds, and Kendrick goes into a deep dive about, Tammy, again, one of the main characters of the album, and just the shit that she was getting into and the type of world and lifestyle that she was living. And it's a very dark tale, but he tells it with such I don't want to say swag, but he's so dope with it that it sounds cool as hell. Like, it's just like, wow, man. If you did not know any better or know who Tammy was, like, it makes you think. And this particular song was produced by
and
THC.
Like, it makes you think, like, are these actual people, or is he just coming up with all these names in his head?
Right.
Yeah,
man. So it makes you think. Then we get to track 6, and it's called Chapter 6. And Kendrick is more or less kind of singy rapping on this one. But again, the storytelling is something that I think...
Is that the one where he's like riding with the boys and girls and we're high? Okay. Just checking.
You did a good job.
Yeah. I wasn't even...
an album.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
This one was produced by Tommy Black, and it's only, I think this one and Tammy's song are the shortest songs on the album. There's an interlude, chapter 10, which we'll get to in a little bit. But they're at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. They are the shortest songs on the album.
Right.
And but yeah, that was dope. It was another dope joint.
It was very mellow. It was kind of like, it kind of gave you a break,
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of like, and I thought about this many years after listening to it. When you think about the sequencing of this album, because, and you and I, we've talked about this on this particular podcast. I know that Eclectic and I have talked about it on the podcast as well. Sequencing an album can make or break an album,
yes, it can
for the listener. And this really reminds me of back in my day, before Matt was here, the A side and the B side of a tape. Yep. And so I could really see.
No, I was alive for
Were
that.
You right? Okay, okay.
Yes, I was alive for that. I got into my first.
I thought you was a CD baby.
I am, but like right before that, I was buying tapes, for maybe a year or two in the late '90s, and then after that, I was just like, I'm mainly a CD baby, but I do remember A sides and B sides, and I collect tapes and vinyl, so. there's that.
Gotcha.
But continue.
Then track 7.
Oh, yes.
Ronald Reagan era.
Yes.
His Evils, produced by
man.
Tay Beast. What you got on this one, man?
First of all, Ab-Soul at the beginning. We really out here, like I didn't realize that was Ab-Soul until I listened to Control System, but
Okay.
and Ab-Soul is one of my favorites in the TDE camp.
He's dope, man. He's dope.
Yeah, we'll get to his outro later because I got a hot take on him. Because I do like Control System, his first album, more than this one. But yeah, Ronald Reagan era. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop, whoop. Oh.
Yeah,
and
man.
it's so aggressive and like high paced. It's almost like, I feel like this album, like if you're listening to how it's sequenced, it'll start out kind of mellow, get aggressive, mellow, and it kind of like now, you know how crack was a huge thing, obviously, in the Ronald Reagan era. You're old enough to remember that.
But I lived through it. Come on, man.
Yeah. See, there you go. So, did you notice that this album is kind of sequenced like a crack high and then like a withdrawal right afterwards?
I never took that from that. But no, go ahead.
I noticed that this album will be really, really hype and then really, really mellow. And I think it does that on purpose, because if you look at crack as a drug, it makes you very amped. And then when you withdraw, you get very depressed and kind of sad.
Okay.
And if you're looking at this album, a song like Ronald Reagan era is hype as hell. You listen to a song like Po Man's Dreams, which is the follow-up, it gets mellow again.
Right. Okay.
And kind of dark.
Never really thought about it like that, but that's an excellent point.
So if this album is about Reaganomics, Section 8 housing, Section 80, the 80s, crack, like prostitution becoming really big during the crack epidemic to sell yourself for drugs. Like, as we're going through this, I just thought about it, and I'm just like, I think this album was sequenced to be like, kind of like the highs of like a stimulant. And
I could see that. I could definitely see that, man. And I think you make a good point. Because there is highs and lows.
It may be a reach, ladies and gentlemen. I may be reaching, but with a dude like this, with the kind of artists that he's working with production wise, like I don't think that they just did that on I don't think they did that coincidentally.
Right. No. I think you're onto something there. I think Ronald Reagan era describes Kendrick's hometown of Compton, California. I think he described it only as best as a true MC would. I mean, he said in 1987, the children of the Ronald Reagan raked the leaves of your front porch with a machine blowtorch. I mean, like, come on, man.
Yeah,
what are you talking about, man? This dude is unreal.
But that was one of the songs that caught my ear the second time I went through it too, because I was just like, it picked up the energy. You know what I mean? Like he was rapping like kind of aggressively. You know,
he
like
had to, because on this particular track, what he wants to convey is that, and he speaks of the Ronald Reagan era. Ronald Reagan obviously was president at that particular time. Ronald Reagan's policies.
He was a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, of course he was a piece of shit. And his policies, he wanted to talk about on this particular track about how the policies affected not just him, but the other kids in his neighborhood and
every impoverished black community in America. Ronald Reagan pretty much fucked up for a period of time.
Oh no.
And it kind of stayed that way.
Time.
Yeah. For a long time, it stayed that way. And, I hear a lot of people say, oh, Trump bastardized the Republican Party. And I'm like, yeah, Trump is probably the worst president, at least of my lifetime.
Right.
But I think Ronald Reagan kind of gave the alley-oop for,
Oh, no question. And the thing about Reagan's policies was that it was passed along, and there was I don't want to say there was no I don't want to say there was no resistance, but it wasn't like how you might have thought it was. And again, I'm speaking as a child of the 80s, because that was the era in which I grew up. And this song really describes, like I said, how Kendrick viewed Compton and what, those policies did to just him and his peers.
Right. And, my dad was telling me a little bit about Reagan too. And how he said it just like this. He was like, I unfortunately voted for Reagan the second time, the second term or whatever, but he did it because the other candidate was just so weak in comparison. It was just like, okay, well, what do we do now? Ronald Reagan's a piece of shit, but so is this guy. So what do we do?
Man, listen, he could have voted for a toy truck, and that toy truck would have done better than Ronald Reagan. I'm telling you, it was just that bad. And again, yeah. I'm speaking from someone who, in Reagan got elected in 84.
He was there for 8 years, right?
Yeah, he was there 8 years. I was 12 in 84. So it was rough. It was rough. Track 8, man. Poe Man's Dream, His Vice, featuring GLC.
I need to get into GLC.
You know what, man? GLC, I remember GLC quite vividly, but when I heard him on this song, without looking at the track listing, I thought he was somebody from the South, because he sounded Southern to me on this track.
Yeah.
But
some people from Chicago have a little bit of a Southern twang in their accent.
Because you know why? Because that's where most of the people in Chicago, particularly black people, are from. They have roots in the South. I'll put it like that. Because it was a part of the Western migration of our people.
I was not aware. Now you learn something. You learn something new every day.
Come on, man. I'm gonna school you.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. I appreciate the knowledge, Kyle.
Yeah, man. That when we post slavery and everything like that, Jim Crow, a lot of black people migrated to the Midwest because less hassle as far as and more opportunities as far as jobs. And Chicago was one of the cities in which a lot of us settled. So yeah, Poe Man's Dream, produced by Willie B, not Willie D.
Smoke good, eat good, live good.
Man, listen, this is like my second favorite song on the album, man.
It's just so chill.
I love this shit, man. I love this. This joint just flows, and Kendrick just rides this smooth ass beat.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. Mm-hmm. I'm an adult. I can say it. Before I got sober, I may or may not have smoked to that song a couple of. You know what?
Never smoked, and I just vibed to this song.
I'm just letting the audience know. There were, and not just that song, but pretty much any album that I enjoyed listening to at the time.
No doubt.
Smoke
good, eat good, live good. Amen.
And I was smoking good, eating good, and somewhat living good.
Dope track, man. Dope track. And then we get to track 9.
The hypeness returns.
Chant featuring Schoolboy Q, produced by Soundwave and Dave Free. This, I think, this is it's not. I was gonna say it's the longest track. It's not the longest track on the album. It's the second longest track. Another dope joint, man.
Fire. This song just punches you in the face. It's just so amped. And you know what's crazy is when I started using Apple Music, I had to actually go on my computer and put this song onto my computer because this song is not on Apple Music.
It's not on Spotify either. And it wasn't until I was listening one day, and because I think I had this on. I
think it was sampling.
Yeah, I think they took it off. So
because
you're looking on Spotify, it's not on there.
When I bought the album on iTunes before streaming was a thing, it was on there. But I think once they started getting bigger and bigger, they probably hadn't cleared the samples.
Right. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with that.
Because if you look at Habits of Contradiction, Schoolboy Q's album, the song Blessed with Kendrick Lamar is taken off, and I think 2 others are as well.
Yeah.
I think there's one taken off of Control System, if I'm not mistaken.
That happens. That happens from time to time. And
look at G's Up, Hose Down on Doggy Style.
Doggy Style, right. There may be a situation where somewhere in the future where that'll be back on the album. But if you're listening or go to your Apple or your Spotify, whatever the case may be, or Tidal, it's not on there. Just not Google. I'm sorry. Go to YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's called Spiteful Chant featuring.
Or just download it.
Yeah, you can download it.
I never encourage this, but since it's not on any place that you can really buy music, just download it for free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, or if you can't, I mean, it might be one of those things where it's not available to stream and you can only like buy it for like $1. That might be their only option. Right. So I haven't looked at that part of it, but you know, yeah, this song is amazing. Schoolboy Q was dope on it.
Yeah, man. Another song, like you said, that gets you hyped up.
Run through a brick wall, like the next movement off of Things Fall Apart.
Yes. Then track 10 is more of an interlude called Chapter 10, produced by THC. Then we get to track 11, Keisha's song, Her Pain.
This shit. Oh my God.
Featuring Astrobot?
Yeah, I think that's Astrobot.
Yeah.
And I recognize the voice because I feel like that's the one that's singing on Ronald Reagan Era as well, because it sounds almost exactly the same. But anyways, this song is kind of like 2011's version of Brenda's Got a Baby.
Facts.
You know, like, except I actually kind of think this song is better than Brenda's Got a Baby. You know, cue the crickets, Kyle. Cue the crickets on me. Cue the crickets. I know.
It's dope, man. It's a dope song, man. On this particular song, Keisha's song, you know, he talks about Keisha, the again, one of the main characters, and how she became a sex worker in order just to support her life. You know, she was, you know,
and there's nothing wrong with sex workers. I don't want to shame them. You know,
I mean, in this case, it was because she was.
Right.
She was clearly, you know.
I'm just saying overall. I don't want to like.
No. I mean, if you want to sell your body, hey, man, you know, I ain't here to judge. But you're right. This was the 2011 version of Brenda's Got a Baby, and it's a cautionary tale about, you know, Keisha and what happened to her, you know, when she chose that life. And again, it was when you listen to a song like Ronald Reagan Era, and you see how those policies and procedures and everything that the Reagan administration set forth, and then it has Keisha, someone who's growing up as a child, seeing all of this stuff around her, and then she feels like, okay, well, hey, the only way that I can make money is to sell myself, sell my body. And
right. And he alludes to this song at the beginning of No Makeup too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he also brings this character up again on Sing About Me Dying of Thirst.
Yes.
You know, so it's like Kendrick is like one of those artists, man, where it's just like track, you know, like, oh, the line at the end of track 1 connects to the first line at the beginning of track 8, and if you connect everything together, Kendrick just gave you the cure for COVID. Like, he's one of those kind of he's like one of those kind of rappers where it's just so cryptic.
Yeah, it's all about the connections. Like you said, there are several songs and several instances on this album, again, his first album, that he will kind of connect the dot to.
This album is like the
Good Kid, Mad City.
This is like the precursor of his storytelling abilities.
Yeah, I'd like to say that Kendrick Lamar, for his first 4 albums, it's one big book, and these are chapters, and with many chapters in each book or what have you. And there's a lot of connecting of the dots for some of the chapters in this first chapter, if you will. First chapter being, metaphorically speaking, obviously, Section.80, and then Good Kid, Mad City, which was his second album. There's another, you know, like you said, he references Keisha and what happens to Keisha in Good Kid, Mad City on his second album. Then we go back up tempo again. Track 12, my favorite track on the album, Rigor Mortis.
You want to talk about some rapidy raps? You know, like he was just, it's just like, damn, dude, breathe. It's okay. Like, you know, you need air, Kendrick. You need air, Mr. Lamar. Like, he just was rapping and rapping and rapping without breathing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm just like,
he spazzed on this one, man. Let's keep it a beat. He spazzed on this one.
He's like, I'm going to give you a break from this serious shit, but I'm going to bar you to death while I do it.
And he was just like, I think at that particular time, he was really trying to show you that he was separating himself from everybody else. I mean, by this time, you know, again, even on the street, he had a rep, and I think Kendrick really wanted to use this song to separate himself from his peers, to say like, look, okay, yeah, I'm new to the game, but these other dudes, they ain't fucking with me. Like I'm just on this level, and this level of emceeing. And I think every MC from time to time in their career, they may have a song or two where they specifically set out to separate themselves from the rest. I think this was Kendrick's song right here.
Yeah.
Rigor Mortis is crazy. Then we get the track 13, Kush and Corinthians, His Pain featuring BJ the Kid. This one was produced by Wild
Chicago
Fire.
Kid.
BJ Chicago Kid. Another one, man.
Can we just admit that every time BJ the Chicago Kid is on a song, it's a winner? Like
BJ really hadn't had any misses, man, to be honest.
No, because like the first time I heard him was on this and the Cunnilingus album, Wonderology. Both came out the same year. He was on a song called Dreams, and I'm just like, bro, like this dude right here is going to be a star, and he's still nowhere near as big as I thought he would be the first time I heard him. But man, this dude here, like he should be just as big as Anderson .Paak. Just as big as Anderson .Paak. You know, I'm not saying he's better. I'm saying like they're in the same tier to me in terms of talent. And I think that, you know, every time you get him on a song, it's just like a winner. It might be one of the best songs on the album, you know. He was on Absol's Control System on Lust Demons. That's like my favorite song on Control System. Yeah, man. You know,
that dude is mad talented, man. This again, this track's 5 minutes 4 seconds. Dope track. I mean, just a pure banger. Then we get to track 14. Blow My High, Members Only.
Yes.
This one, man, shout out to Aaliyah, rest in peace.
Yes. R.I.P. Aaliyah. R.I.P. Yes. Oh my God.
Love
that
this
song.
Joint, man.
This is my favorite song on the album.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yes. Absolutely. Hook.
They used the hook. That was a verse from the late great Pimp C. Rest in peace, Pimp C.
That R.I.P. Aaliyah part when he's singing it, I'm just like, bruh, this song is like, the first time I heard that song and that hook, I probably had it stuck in my head for like the next 48 hours. Yeah, and my friends kept on saying, Matt, why do you just keep on saying R.I.P. Aaliyah to yourself? And I'm just like, you need to hear this song.
Yeah, man, that song is cold. It is so cold, man. Still bangs to this day. And again, they're closing out this album, but it still doesn't feel like the end. And then track 15, Ab-Soul's outro featuring Ab-Soul.
Ab-Soul had one of the best verses. Like, let's put it this way. In my opinion, Ab-Soul's verse on this song was one of the top 5 verses on this entire album.
He had a dope verse, man. He had that dope.
Ab-Soul in his prime, like, there was a point in time, I'm not saying I feel this way now, but when it was like Section 80 and then Ab-Soul put out Control System, there was a point in time where I'm like, oh shit, who do I like more between the two?
Right.
You know, but then Kendrick started to separate himself and he was much more consistent and got better, whereas Ab-Soul kind of, you know, I still love Ab, don't get me wrong, that's my dude, but I don't think he's been able to top Control System. But this is prime Ab-Soul. Yeah, Ab-Soul in his prime was probably, at least from a technical skill aspect, Ab-Soul was probably the best one on TDE at this moment in time when this came out.
I like when Kendrick comes in. I like when they say life is a traffic jam. I mean, like, that is so true in so many different ways.
Yes.
Life is a traffic jam. And you have to figure out how to maneuver yourself throughout this traffic jam that you're in. And it's not like, you know, they kind of give off the connotation like, no, we're not stuck here. This is our life, but we have to figure it out. And then Kendrick's spoken word in the middle of it, I thought was key. Right?
And the horns. Oh God.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And the horns, speaking of horns, man, shout out to Terrace Martin.
Yes.
Crazy horn player. He was the producer of this song. Crazy underrated, man. Love listening to his music, man. He is super, super dope. And then the album concludes with High Powered, you mentioned a little earlier, produced by Jermaine Cole.
Pictures of Martin Luther staring at me. Oh my God, bro! Like this.
Yeah, man.
I probably know every word of this song word for word. No, I'm not going to do it on the podcast, but like, and the way that he just starts like each verse with the same line, but with a different like black leader, like with a different black leader, picture visions of Malcolm staring at me or something like that. Like he just keeps on doing it.
Man, that's crazy.
He changes the hook. Like I think my favorite part of the hook in the song is when he was like, this is Huey Newton going stupid. You can't resist.
Yes. Yeah, man.
I'm like, this dude Kendrick is a fucking problem. He wasn't born on Earth.
What's interesting about that is, like you said, he's mentioning black leaders, but what I think that does is, just like anything else, it
teaches the youth.
Exactly. There's a 10 or 11-year-old kid that's listening that probably didn't know who Huey P. Newton was.
This is a West Coast dude from Compton. He sounds smooth and cool as shit. I want to be as cool as him. Let me learn about Malcolm X.
Right.
Because let's be real, kids aren't going to read the autobiography of Malcolm X now, unfortunately, because ain't nobody out here really reading books at that age. You know what I mean?
You got to make it do. You got to. You have to at the very least introduce it to him. Like I had my sons read it. But I had to give it to him. It wouldn't have been anything that would have been assigned reading in their school or whatever like that.
Oh no, of course not.
But
people don't even realize that Malcolm X Day is actually a real day.
Oh, no question.
And it's unfortunate because, in my opinion, he's just as important as Martin Luther, if not in terms of, like, if you're talking like just being in the streets on that level, he might be even more. You know what? Let me not do that. That's not my place.
No, I know what you mean.
I was going to say, I think in certain aspects he might be a little bit more important than Martin Luther King if people actually took the time to learn more about him. But I don't want to.
But I'm gonna tell you what the reason why he won't be viewed that way is because
he was extreme.
Well, no, he wasn't even extreme. It was his message, was never viewed from his lens. It was always twisted to be something else, something that because Malcolm was clearly one of our greatest orators in the history of this country.
Oh yeah,
he's when you listen to him speak, he is very clear. There's no ambiguity, about anything that he says. So it was. Now let me stop. I'm about to get on the damn history lesson. But yeah, you're right.
Hey, a song like that can make you do that. It's like, who's Huey Newton? Who's
You're right. He does, and that's one of the things that I love about Kendrick is that he will introduce different topics and different themes within his music. So it's like he's, and that's why one of the things I love about Kendrick is that he can give you a lesson without coming off as being preachy. And I think hip hop fans appreciate that.
He can teach kids about important black leaders other than Martin Luther King. And like, you know what they teach in public school, like all they'll teach you about is like, and I can really only go by my era. Like, they taught us about,
I have a dream.
Yeah, they taught that George Washington Carver, like, they talked to us about that. And it was just like, why? And they talked a little bit about Malcolm X, but they made him seem like an extremist or like a violent dude. And I'm like, look, there were things that Malcolm X said at the beginning of his, activism that he later changed.
Right.
He grew as a person. He didn't hate white people like that. I think it's important to actually not just take one thing and stick with that.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like it was never portrayed through the lens or in which he was trying to show people. And I think that's one of the things that I love, like I said about Kendrick, is that he was more than willing to, not only take chances, but again, drop little gems like that to where the average listener is going to say, oh, well, let me check this out. Let me see what this is. So before we get out of here, man, I got to ask, if you were rating this album on the Source scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being a hip hop classic, where would you rank it between 1 mic and 5 mics? How many mics will you give Section 80 and why?
0. I'm kidding. No. I'm kind of stuck between 4 and 4.5. I guess There's really only one song that I'm iffy on, and it's not that I don't like it. I just don't love it. So I'll give it a 4.5. Solid 4. A solid 4.5. Nothing lower, nothing higher. That, you know, I think impact wise, we can look at this album as maybe being a classic in the next 10 years. I think it's still a little bit soon.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's been 10 years since it came out.
We're celebrating this 10 years, so it's been 10 years. So by my definition, I think if an album's been around 10, 15 years, you can start looking at it. If you deem that it's a classic, I think that's the time to really look at it.
Bro, I'm telling you, Kyle, if we're going by the impact this album had in terms of boosting his career and getting more ears on him for his major label debut, I think this album is a classic.
Okay. So you get it 5 marks.
Well, in terms of quality, I think it's 4.5.
Okay, so you're at 4. So it's a supreme dope album.
I think in terms of impact, it's a classic, but because I'm not 100% sure, I'm giving it a 4.5.
Okay,
yes.
So it's not so you're at 4.
I'd have to think about it long beyond this podcast episode. You know, I need more time to think.
You know my motto: if you got to think, it ain't.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know.
It's just like if I say, "Hey, Matt, is Jerry Rice a Hall of Famer?" Yeah, hell yeah, Jerry Rice.
Now, if we're talking Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly,
that is for an upcoming podcast.
Yes. But this one, it's like I think it needs a little bit more time.
You know, I personally think you can give it all the time you want. There's no shame in this. I think this is a 4.5 mic album. And I think it is phenomenal. It is an album, I think, that has gotten better as time has gone on because of just some of the things that he talked about. And
you heard me. I gave it. You heard me.
Relevant to this day. You know,
dude, you heard me. I gave it a 3 when I first heard it.
So you know, it's and I think, you know, this album not only introduced Kendrick Lamar to a lot of us, but it really, what we didn't know at the time was he was just scratching the surface as to where he was going to go and to who he was going to become. I have been more than pleased. And I'll be honest, for a long while, this was my favorite Kendrick Lamar. I had it over Good Kid, Mad City.
You had it over T-Pab?
No.
Okay, I was about to say.
I didn't. I had. But you know what's weird is, like, now when I listen to it, and I still go back to this album quite often.
Would you say that you like it more than Good Kid, Mad City still, or was this just like?
I think it's better. I think it's slightly better.
You think this is slightly better than Good Kid?
You know what? I'll discuss that on an upcoming podcast. I'm going to leave the folks hanging on that one. It is time for us to get out of here. Matt, why don't you tell folks where they can catch that, man?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. You know, your favorite man that should be a model but isn't yet. You know, I am, in my own imagination at least, I am a sex icon within the list of Brad Pitt and all them.
Yeah, in your own mind.
Yes, exactly. Let a man dream.
No doubt. Well, you guys know where to find me. You've been listening to the podcast long enough. I'm 12 Kyle on all platforms. The podcast, 12 Kyle Podcast on all platforms. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. A new podcast drops every single Thursday night at midnight. This is what we do, and from time to time we will drop bonus episodes on Sundays. So that's gonna do it for us. This is me, and I'm on here with my boy Matt B. Once again, thank you for checking out this podcast as we take a look back at Section.80 10 years later. Once again, thank you for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.
K-pop Demon Hunters, Haja Boys Breakfast Meal and Huntrix Meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is a larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.